are all from Oklahoma ATAC, the federal ATAC program here in Oklahoma, and we received an email just kind of saying, hey, we've got this thing, and we all jumped on and said, yay, we are interested in learning more. I don't want to put Amy on the spot, but Amy is our make and take guru. She makes our make and take go, and it's certainly one of our most popular programs. So we're open to learning, from you all today.
Well, and really, I think it's learning from each other. Okay, so that's Gretchen, Amy, and Avery. You guys are all from ATAC. Okay.
Yes.
And that leaves Scott and Julia. If one of you want to tell us. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Julia. Yeah, so I'm from Ohio, and I again just saw it on a email and thought, hey, I had heard about the Makers World before through an in-service with Volker, right? Volk Switch, and and so I thought, hey, we're like less than a month away from getting our own 3D printer, and so I thought this would be a great place to start learning.
Great. All right, and then Scott and Ryan, if you feel like telling us how you got here, that would be great.
I got a 3D printer a while ago and have been working on figuring out how to use it and all that. But there have been a few websites I've been relying on, and there's just so much to do and figure out with it. So yeah, I just was looking for something, and this popped up, and it seemed like a great place to stop in.
Nice. And where are you from, Ryan?
I'm up in New York, Bethlehem Central. So.
Okay, great. All right, Scott.
Hi, Scott. I am from Rowan College at Burlington County, and I got an email just like everybody else, but I've seen one of your sessions before, so this might be just like refreshment for me.
Really all we're trying to do is get people together, and for me, I want to hear what other people are doing. It's not like Naomi and I are sitting here with all the information. I want to hear what other programs are doing, what's working, what's not working, what's a challenge. In past sessions, we have had people say, hey, I have a client with this issue, and put our heads together. And I don't know if any of you went back and watched, we had a guy from Springfield, Missouri, develop a thing called a worm hooker because somebody wanted to bait their own hook independently. So we talked about her needs, and he developed the first prototype. I don't think it's, going to be a final design, but, so that kind of thing, when everybody is together, to me is just awesome. Because, Gretchen says one thing and Avery throws in something else, and Scott has a final idea, and we put it together, and somebody with their 3D printer like Amy puts it all together for us. So with that, the news to everyone is I don't have a 3D printer. I have never 3D printed anything. So that is not like, for me, the end all be all. I love the idea. I'm still calling myself new to the Kansas City area because of COVID, because I've barely left my office. But I think that there's lots of resources for 3D printing. I am really thankful that there are people that like Amy who are skilled with a 3D printer in the community. I'm calling you skilled, Amy. I hope
I'm trying to be skilled. It's a lot of work.
Oh no, she is skilled. I have attended meetings where I have gotten to see her problem solve with somebody else, and I stand in awe, Amy.
Oh, cool. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a lot of challenging, hard work, but I'm getting there. So.
Well, and that's part of the reason I haven't ventured into it, because I feel like we don't all have to go through that challenging trial. Like if I have a design, I want to run it by you and then have a high school kid print it, because I don't want to go through all the, it feels like a lot of
learning it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we don't generally have an agenda, but I have some questions. And Ryan, I kind of forgot what you just got a 3D printer. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'm in assistive technology. So so one of the things that we kind of got it for was like those key guards that you get for communication devices and other things. So yeah, I printed a couple of those. They worked pretty well. And then the student got a new device that it didn't fit for. So we printed another one. And now they actually ended up with the professional version of it, because the professional version has a hinge built into it. And, that's the kind of thing I'm like, oh, well, we could probably add that. But the amount of time it's going to take me to do that. And I have another, I have a real job that I have to do first and foremost. So,
so for key guards, have you talked to Ken at Volkswitch?
No.
So he's usually on here, or he's been consistently on this group. I will say he's probably the best resource for key guards and information, and for him it is all about getting devices to people. It's not a money-making venture for him. So if any of you are struggling with key guards, don't hesitate to reach out to Ken at Volkswitch. He's smart and open. And Naomi's got the link in the chat.
Also, Tech Owl from Pennsylvania, they have a really awesome 3D print program too, Ryan. Thomas and Alana are really helpful. They helped us get our 3D print program off the ground. So they're a really valid resource too. We meet with them every other month, probably, just to check in with each other. I did invite them today. I didn't know if they had been a part of this or not, but I was hoping that they would come.
Yeah, and it looks like Kathy just joined us, and Kathy with the Illinois, I'm jumping right in on you. They have a program. I just sat in for a few minutes on they're getting their program up and running and are doing 3D printing. And they have kind of an interesting, what looks like way to go about it. So what I'm curious about is how people come to request devices from you, Amy. Where do your requests come from?
Can I share my screen and I'll show you?
Yes, I think.
Possibly. Oh, yep, I do have rights. Okay, yes. All right. So we developed a program on our website. It's under our education services, under our, did they move it on me? No, here it is. AT support team, LowTech Assistive Technology. So one side is our 3D printing program and the other side is our make and takes. We only have a few prints available right now because, like I said, it's a new program for us. So we're just really kind of soft launching it right now. We're not, really advertising for it at the moment. So we chose, Tech Owl helped us choose kind of some of their top items that they get out and about to their community and state. So we chose, a reading bar, the pinball gripping aid, and the signature guide, and then the spoon and fork support. And I got all of these off of AT Makers. And you have to have the Creative Commons, but you can request right here, request a 3D print. And we're only allowing 3 at a time, just so it won't overwhelm us, because we only have one printer. So, you know, and it's just me. So we're trying to get our stock up, you know, and running pretty well until we launch. I think I have probably of these items, 50 or so. But then we sent out a survey. We sent all these products out to our partners and our AT demo and loan partners, and asked them how they worked, and, you know, would their patrons use them? You know, how often do you think that they would request a print, etc. And the only one that was really popular was the spoon and fork support. So we have added more. I'm printing a bottle opener, a key holder. What else am I printing, Gretchen? Blanking. A zipper pull. And there's one more, a palm pin holder. And these were really sought out. These were for requests from our partners. So I think it's just kind of all in what your state needs and your residents need. Gretchen, you're muted.
I really like your the way that this works. You know, it looks user friendly. Sorry, Gretchen, please go.
That's
ahead.
okay. No worries. I want us to get to a point on Zoom where when we can say a magic word and it will unmute us automatically.
I know.
That's what I want. But yes, so Amy, key holder, bottle opener, zipper pull, palm pen.
Yeah, okay, I did get them all. It was like,
no, that's fine. I'm looking at the list. Amy is fabulous in recording all of the things. And then Amy, you have down that we just have 2 cabinet handles. I don't know if was that identified? I don't think so.
No, I didn't identify that one. It takes 7 hours to print one, and I've been working on trying to speed it up. Yeah. It's just not one that I can just really do quickly or a few at a time and stock up on that. So I think it might be one that you just have to request and wait on.
Mm-hmm. What is that one, Amy?
The cabinet. It's a cabinet pull.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the biggest learning experiences for me from Amy has been that she has one, Amy, that will make multiples, you know, in a very short period of time. And then you have the cabinet handle that takes 7 hours, you know, and when you have one 3D printer, you know, I love how Amy, I think at some point, I don't know when we're going to say we're going to launch the program, because we just keep saying soft launch.
Yeah.
Because we're so scared people are going to then. We do a 3-part assistive tech assessment workshop, and next workshop we're going to give out some as surprise gifts to the attendees, because we're doing it virtually and sometimes it's hard to get people to interact. And so Amy has come up with these fabulous questions, and if they answer in the chat, then they're eligible. And so she and I have kind of said, well, we'll, you know, open up the 3D box for that, and then, you know, see where that takes us to. So
yeah, so just little increments at a time, you know, so we can just figure out what Oklahoma needs, really. But yeah, that's kind of our gist right now.
Yeah. And may I ask, how many partners do you have? Like, how many locations are you asking what they're interested in?
Do we have 11? Is it 11 partners? I think.
Okay.
I'd have to look back. I'm not in charge of our partners. I'm in charge of our Birth to 3 program. So okay. I don't know. I think it's 11 though.
That's a good enough ballpark. I was just curious.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite a few. And it ranges, you know, lifespan. So from pediatrics to adults. So there's a wide range there.
Yeah. So if anybody else wants to talk about how people get into their program, you know, to request. So, you know, Kathy or Ryan or anybody else, if you want to just, Julia, I think you also said you had a program. But you know, I am just interested how people get in. What's the hurdle to requesting a device? And it looks like with Oklahoma, it's just going to the website and submitting a form.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep.
So yeah, Julia, do you want to tell us?
Well, so I'm kind of different. I work for a county agency in around Cuyahoga County, around Cleveland. So we are specifically for individuals who are in that county program. So they have to be identified as being eligible for our services. So in Cuyahoga, I think we have probably around 2,000 to 3,000 that we can serve from across the spectrum. And then there's 3 of us who are assistive technology specialists who serve any of those people who are identified as able to receive our services. So we're a dinosaur here in Ohio because we're probably the only 3 designated assistive technology specialists. Usually it's someone else who does that role. But we it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And so we're just trying now to see how we can create our own instead of buying off the shelf if we have to.
And will you go to 3D printing or are you looking, I mean, you know, because a lot, I don't know. I was just talking to Naomi before we started, like I'm looking at like how to hold my mask on better at ATIA. So for me, the 3 things that I'm using are pipe insulation, CPAP hose, or telephone cord, because I'm all about what can I find, you know, like what is a resource that's available that I can make work. And so I make a lot of things out of PVC or even cardboard because we ship stuff like many of you and we have lots of cardboard. So are you looking at 3D printing stuff or are you finding stuff on the?
I'd say we've been there and done that with the stuff around the house. So we've got a whole cabinet full of all those wonderful one-offs that we've made throughout the years. But we're finding now with technology moving us into a bigger arena where we can't always find that thing that we want to. So yeah, we're moving into that 3D printing just to see how I can get a call button at the right place for somebody who, you know, has very limited movement so that they can always be safe. And how do I connect it to wherever they're laying or sitting so that they can reach it, because it's just not working the way that we try to do it with household products.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, for me, I really see it as a combination of you 3D print some things, but you still have to kind of manipulate some other part of the design to make it work for an individual. And that's, you know, to me, the joy of the whole maker kind of mindset is how do you make it work? And sometimes it's, yeah, one device you make, one device you print, and sometimes it's a combination of a lot more. So when people need something and they come to you, Julia, you and your team of 3 are just kind of figuring out which path to take and where to start.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
So we're either
formal. I'm sorry. So there's no formal request form or something like that.
No. I mean, we get referrals from our support administrators, our SSAs. But yeah, so usually there has to be an issue, and then we find out what piece of item could fix that issue.
Sure. Yeah. Great. And then Ryan, you're unmuted. Did you want to talk about how people come into your program?
So for us, it's kind of a pain in the neck. So when I tried ordering a key guard, you know, I went through all there was a special website you go to, you fill out all the fun paperwork, you know, we have a specific program, and then, you know, which options are highlighted or not, which version of whatever tablet we had. You know, I filled out all this stuff. I consulted with the speech pathologist, and we made sure we got it all right. We submitted it. It goes to our business office. We got the generic model that just comes when you say, I want one of those, and don't fill anything out. It was like, okay, well, there's $104 down the tube because you couldn't be bothered to fill out the boxes. And it's just, it's hard. I mean, I also can't fault them. They get, hundreds of requests every week. So I don't know, but it stinks. So.
Right. And it's 2+ hours of your life trying to fill out the form.
Right.
You could spend that 2 hours figuring out your 3D printer and getting the right device.
So yeah, so now since I went on to Thingiverse, found a keyguard that was close, downloaded the file, modified it a bit in a terrible program, quite frankly, SketchUp, which is good for what it is, but not great for little STL files if you don't have the professional version. And I don't have admin rights, so I can't install other programs on my computer. So I got to reach out to somebody to come over and sign it and all that. But yeah, I still made it work, and it actually was all right. It worked out pretty well the first couple of times. But
it's good to have success.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So how do requests come in? So if you were to print something else for somebody, how would a request come into you?
It's funny, most of the time, because I'm the only AT specialist for our district. So usually it's when I show up, see that there's a need, and suggest, hey, you could use a key guard for this. Or they say, my student's having trouble working with this device, and they might know about key guards. So they'll say, we could really use a key guard for this new device that they're getting. But yeah, usually it's just an email or an in-person meeting where they say, hey, we could use something. We just don't know what it is. And then I just have to figure it out.
I have a question. How about key guards for Chromebooks? Anyone have any experience making any at all for a Chromebook? No.
I just saw one on the.
You saw one? Because my issue was that the spaces between the keys are so small that no one has been, that they really haven't liked trying to do it, because there's very little plastic that would go in between the key. So that's always where I seem to want a key guard, is for a Chromebook now.
Oh, that's on VolkSwitch. That was one of the things that when I clicked on that link, popped up. Yeah, it might depend on the Chromebooks you guys have, or your, the student or person individual has, because there's some that just have a little bit more space between. I have my wife actually has a Chromebook that has like no space in between the keys. So they're all the keys just kind of meet together. So there would be no way to do it. But I know our district, the ones that we have, actually have a pretty good amount of space in between. So we also did this fun thing with our stickers. So you have a colorful sticker for each one, but you probably can't quite see, but there's a good amount of space in between these ones. That could work, but
yeah,
depends on which ones you guys have. I wonder if, as an AT need, maybe you could upgrade to a different kind of Chromebook. I mean, if you're just swapping a device for a device, it's not really a big expense.
Right. Yeah, and again, VolkSwitch might be your best resource for that.
I just shared a link for you in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
It goes right to the key guards for Chromebook.
Oh, nice. And Rich, were you wanting to pop in?
I just wanted to mention, I teach my students to use Tinkercad, and in part because we don't have to install anything. It's all web-based. So when they go out and are working in the clinic, I don't want them to have to license Fusion 360. So it's it works remarkably well. It's pretty sophisticated. And then I guess I was also wondering for the Chromebook, if they could you could plug an external keyboard in. I mean, you're then stuck with like an external keyboard with your Chromebook, but that might let you do a key guard.
And that's what I ended up recommending them to do. It just was one more piece to.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not a great solution.
No.
You know what kind of Chromebook the student had?
No, not off the top of my head. I see most of the districts, and I think we have 47 districts in Cuyahoga County. So it could have been. It's just in my head now. It's probably been 1 or 2 years that even happened, but I know that that's always been a concern of mine, because it's just so easy for these school districts to buy a Chromebook and stick it in front of someone and actually have a usable laptop or device.
Yeah, but like Ryan said, the one thing that's really nice about that is they can take that Chromebook that doesn't work for one student and just pass it on to another and get a different one, that either can accept a key guard or something else. That is one nice thing about having like this ubiquitous device. Yeah, so I don't know if Kathy, if you're available, but if you wanted to talk about how people get in to your program to request a device, I'd love to hear that.
Sure. So we're still in soft launch mode and we have not really done any marketing at all, as we're trying to build the network and infrastructure behind it all. But we have good relationships with a lot of organizations in the state. And so it's here again, as other people have expressed, it's sort of the chicken and the egg thing, right? You don't want makers with nothing to do, and you don't want a bunch of requests without makers in place. So, so we know that just putting it out there to the schools would just take off and overwhelm us, and we're trying to avoid that. So we're working with a couple STEM programs right now, and as we get through the kinks and how that works, then we'll expand it to some of the other STEM programs throughout the state. And then we have somebody who has written a little mini grant and has included it as a 3D printing as kind of all aspects, right? Acquiring your materials and taking orders and managing that and making a device and then delivering that device. And so they've incorporated all of that into a transition program for students with disabilities and in a variety of skills, sort of pre-employment skills and independent living skills. And we're just getting going with them, and but they have a great model, I feel like. And so once we get farther down the road and solidify that, then we'll look at putting it out there as a transition model that others might want to duplicate. And then we have the libraries, of course, and getting that network going. And we do a lot through the Aging Network, independent living, and Voc Rehab. And so once we want to really market it, it will go out to all of, they're kind of aware of it, but we're not strongly recruiting or asking for much at this point, as we're trying to work through and build up the infrastructure behind it. So it's kind of a best kept secret a little bit in some regards right now. But that will be the main thing. Will be going, we do have a website up, and there is a form on the website, and we're kind of looking at, the best way to go about that, of what we want to do. And there's just so many variables. Our goal was to build a statewide network. So that's kind of where we're at. And like with the STEM programs and other folks, the real benefit to them that they want is working with the individual. So we're going to try and match people within their own community to the greatest extent possible. But there's just so many variables, as you well know, that come into play of what somebody's capabilities are, what their resources are. Is it simple? Does it fall into, what I call the gizmos and gadgets category? Or is it, more complex, in which we're working with some of the universities as well? But the main entry point will be through our website, and to gather the needed information to help navigate that. Because as you've discussed, it's just, it's difficult to navigate if you don't know anything about it. And as is true with all AT, a lot of times they don't even know if a device exists, or what it is they need that would help. So we still go back to integrating those services and starting with that whole information and assistance.
Absolutely. Kathy, thank you. The two things that I find most intriguing are that transition piece, to see how that model gets up and running. That would be amazing if, to hear the feedback of that and then replicate that. But also this, the idea of this, making it a network. I mean, and that's part of what we're trying to do here is like, let's get together, let's talk about it. But even just in your state, working with the STEM programs, but also the universities, I mean, and when there could be crossover there, would be really, I think, really impactful for both ends of that, the high school kids as well as the college students working together to support a person with a disability. I think that, to me, that might be a model that we all kind of look down the road to, just so we're not, spinning in our own heads, but really community oriented.
Yeah, there's a there's a lot of possibility for sharing ideas and resources and duplicating things. Part of what our focus is due to the small amount of funding that we have, and that was specific to Illinois. And we're kind of with the, your standard, think globally and act locally, right? So that's, and even doing that outside the community into a statewide network is exciting to do, but it's a lot of work involved, and it doesn't happen even with already having good connections. It's every time you think of something, it's like the domino effect, and it's, brings up multiple other issues, and how are we going to handle that, and how are we going to do that? And our focus is staying on wanting to provide some individualized attention and not getting somebody just lost in the waiting. That was kind of one of the things when I originally wrote the grant, because it was delayed funding by a couple of years. At that time, I was really looking at Makers Making Change and thinking, gosh, they got kind of a neat system going, and maybe we can capitalize off of that. But what happens is somebody puts in a request, and then it's just kind of hanging out there hoping that somebody responds. And that was something we wanted to avoid.
Right. Yeah, the potential benefits, along with the very real challenges of doing things on any kind of statewide level, are intimidating, but also full of possibilities. So,
yeah,
I think it is one way that, when one of us clears some kind of path to help share that in some way, whether it's a design on a printer or, how we best collaborate with a STEM program or something like that. It's, we have to find ways like this to share that information. Yeah. Laura, you've been awfully quiet today, which is very uncharacteristic.
Multitasking, way too many things at once. Just, I'm just hanging today.
All right.
So.
Nothing, no specific things you need to bring.
No, not yet. I have something that I finally got all the parts to and printed it all out, and I'm going to start on, but I haven't gotten to the point where I'm able to start on it yet. And like everybody else has said, we've had the same experiences, and thank God for this group and makers making change and AT makers, without them, I wouldn't even be able to turn on a 3D printer. So, yeah.
Yes, it's good to have resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for those of you that are new, that is one of the kind of the three things that we try to provide in this time is, really just to talk about ideas, to discuss any specific problems that people might have, but really to share our resources. So that's part of the reason I'm asking today. How do people come in, to request something from you? I just, I want to know. And so it looks like, like having that on the website, although nobody's really willing to do a full launch, it sounds like.
Will eventually.
Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Yep. I'm not judging.
We look forward to celebrating when it happens.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, Tech Owl, they are jamming with their 3D print program. So kudos to them. But I've been learning off them. So I'm like, I'm not going to go quickly. I'm going to take my time, work the kinks out,
Okay, so speaking of Tech Owl, a little bit, well, not really off topic, but who else is doing TikTok besides Tech Owl?
We are not.
Me either.
I can't even wrap my brain around TikTok. So I'm a little too old.
Yeah, I feel like our office, I hate to say this, but is way too old for TikTok.
But Tech Owl says it's tremendously successful.
Yeah.
But I agree. I'm right there with Amy. We're like, when Tech Owl brings it up in our meetings, we're like, oh, we're glad you do that.
If I mention that to my IT team, so many alarms will go off. The fire. I'm having a hard enough time getting a iPad to transfer a Proloquo user to my computer and back and forth through our firewall right now.
So yeah, you can't. We do. AbleTech does have Facebook and Instagram, and I think we have Twitter too, but no TikTok thus far.
Yeah,
I'd have to have my 10-year-old niece show me how to work my way around it.
Yes, Mike, who works with Naomi, who's usually on here with us, drug me kicking and screaming onto Twitter.
I don't even get on there very often.
Okay, now that's a whole nother story because all my good stuff for this job comes out of Twitter. So Twitter is just for my job. I don't do it. I follow a couple of fun people, yes, but I don't use it except for here. That's my professional zone. And Facebook is the family. Twitter.
That's funny.
Yes, I almost exclusively have Twitter for work. I do have some national park stuff for pretty pictures because I'm not on Instagram.
I am, but I don't post. I created it a long time ago.
But I think the social media, although it's just kind of a light conversation, is also a way. Like, how are people coming in to our programs? We have a YouTube channel that I don't think anybody looks at YouTube anymore because people can't get off of TikTok, to go anywhere else is what it kind of feels like sometimes. But maybe that's just, the 10-year-olds. I don't know. It's kind of beyond me. I know my grandkids are stuck. I just lost power. Oh, hey. Sorry, I think I just lost power and came back. I might have to jump off.
Yeah. Well, we see you, we hear you.
Yeah, I lost power and came back. And then I got an emergency alert on my computer. So yeah, all I was saying is that my 10-year-old grandkids, you know, are stuck on TikTok, and I am curious if that is a future for more of us, or if Tech Owl is going to be the only ones to stay there. I don't know. Time will tell on that.
Yeah, definitely. If I get brave enough.
Right, that's how I feel.
We'll make Avery do it. She's younger than me.
Yep.
You read my mind. The good news is, Scott, we have hired a fabulous SLP that is, she's coming on now.
She's like, don't you?
But yeah, you know, maybe so. Maybe TikTok's in our future. Hi, Avery.
Threw you under the bus.
But it does feel like, you know, I need an Avery in my office, because honestly, all of our program coordinators are over 50, and it just, you know,
yeah,
it feels like the cutoff. I'm past the cutoff.
Well, that just means we have to find people to mentor and bring up. That's all.
Yep, that's right.
That's our goal.
I think a lot of ours is word of mouth, and a lot is from our educational system. We just have a really good rapport with our teachers and special educators. I think that's how we get a lot of our traffic is through that, which is nice. But sometimes, you know, it gets stagnant and you got to get back out there, which has been hard, you know, with all these COVID protocols and not being able to go to a public, you know, event and affair and be able to, you know, solicit that way. So it's been a little challenging.
For sure. For sure. And, you know, maybe we're coming near an end, but why I want to just take those words back, you know. Who knows? Well, we kind of officially say we're going to do 45-minute session, although we always slot an hour. But I don't want to keep people, if people want to hop off, if they have other things to do. But absolutely, if anybody has any other thing they want to talk about, and, you know, if somebody's got a particular issue, this is a great space to throw it out and see if anybody's got some ideas. I was talking with a guy in St. Louis, and then we kind of lost communication, but he had some particular issues that I was like, all right, I'm going to come back around to that. But I might have to bring him up next month because we haven't spoken in a while. But yeah, I need more heads to, you know, help resolve some of his particular issues. So I'll look forward to that, to bugging you guys with that next month. And so does anybody else have anything they want to throw out to the group? Or Naomi, do you have anything else?
I don't, but we are happy to stay on if anyone has any issues or anything.
Anyone braving ATIA? Okay.
I wanted to, but they told me I couldn't go, so not this year.
I think virtually, so I'm going to do it virtually.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, virtual is definitely a really good option. You know, one of my friends cannot attend, so we turned her on the virtual, and she's going to go back and watch them at night when she gets home. So it'll be a day later, but she'll at least be able to participate.
Yeah, I managed to wrangle permission to go. Therese Wilcom actually asked me to go and help with the Maker's Day stuff, and I'm like, great. You know, when she calls, you go.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
So
yes, that's awesome.
got my supply of masks, and then I'm going to head down to Florida. And it's 23 degrees here right now, going down to 7 tonight. I'm happy to dream of Florida.
We keep watching this snowstorm line where I am going, are we going to miss it? Are we going to be able, you know? And then they're turning on 5G today. And I'm like, is our airport affected? Oh, please no, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It's great to see everyone. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, everybody. I
Yes.
really appreciate it. You know, I know a lot of people don't like to talk on Zoom. It's just easier to lurk, but thanks for talking, joining, and sharing your information today.
Of course. That's what it's about.